Summit. This will be the first sort of standalone trip in nearly 7 years, and the visit aims to strengthen bilateral ties across various sectors, including trade and technology. Prime Minister will also participate in Business Leaders Forum. He's also likely to discuss matters related to the Quad Group, and the next stop then, interestingly, after Japan, will be China. Prime Minister will be in China from August 31st to September 1st, where he will attend the SCO summit. He's likely to hold bilateral talks with the Chinese Premier as well on the sidelines of the summit. And this will be Prime Minister's first visit to China in more than 7 years, as the two neighboring nations work on further diffusing border tensions, also roiled by deadly Galwan clash in 2020. The tariff pressure on New Delhi from Trump administration is also driving the expectations of a positive meeting between the Chinese President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi on the sidelines of that summit. Pranay Upadhyay now joins us for more on this. Pranay, what a time to be covering global politics in India, right? Or perhaps in the world, to see a new global order of sorts coming together. China and India coming together, Japan saying let's shake hands as well, and everybody saying what the hell is happening with the US president. Tell us more about what to expect from these meetings.
Sonal, you can call it as the big Asian outreach by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because he will be embarking upon a two-nation tour tonight at around 8 p.m. Prime Minister will fly to Japan, and then later on he'll go to China for this Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting, a crucial meeting, at a time when we are facing, the so-called Trump's tariff war. So we are facing the resistance by the Trump administration. Prime Minister will be meeting not only the Chinese President Xi Jinping on Chinese soil after 7 years, as you rightly pointed out, and his last visit was in April 2018, when post-Galwan, India and China decided to have the procedure or the process of informal summit between the leaders. And post-Doklam, that was the thaw. And now both Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Xi Jinping would be meeting after Galwan in the recent past. We have seen how both the countries have tried to minimize their differences and initiate the processes of confidence building. And this will help both the countries to reach out to each other to understand and build the confidence building measures. But also in China, Prime Minister Modi will be meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin. India is being India is being sanctioned. India is being penalized for buying Russian oil. And this is a big message, Sonal, because India want to give out the message that we cannot compromise our strategic autonomy. The foreign policy will be pursued as per India's national interest. And this is a unipolar world. As you said, new fronts are being built, new contacts are being explored. And this is an interesting time for the geopolitics when the unipolar world is transiting towards the multipolarity, and this is the multipolarity at its best.
Right. So a lot of business interest also actually coming in as that meeting unfolds. Thanks so much, Pranay, for joining us with all those details. All right, let's move on to the big health focus on 5 Live tonight. Now, a couple of days ago, we did bring you the sugar showdown, and many of you wrote to us saying that you want us to solve now the salt confusion as well. So here we are with the salt showdown. Salt, one of the most basic ingredients in our kitchens, but behind those crystals is a lot of confusion and even more misinformation. Pink salt looks healthy, black salt is hyped as Ayurvedic, Senda namak is said to be pure, but now there is also low sodium salt. So what's real and what's just clever marketing? Before you switch salts thinking that you're making a healthier choice, watch this report. Salt, one of the most essential and overused ingredient in our kitchens. But not all salts are created equal, and the social media health claims around them are often just wrong. So if you're also confused between iodized salt, pink salt, black salt, senda namak, low sodium salt, this video is for you. In this video, we will break down each of these salts, what are they made of, health benefits, and then finally our verdict. But first, as always, let's start with understanding some basics here. What is salt really? At At its core, salt is sodium chloride, NaCl, remember from your chemistry books, a compound that helps regulate fluid balance, nerve transmission, muscle function in the body. But too much of it, especially sodium, is a well-known risk factor for high blood pressure, stroke, and heart diseases. The WHO recommends limiting salt intake to less than 5 grams per day. That's roughly about 1 level teaspoon. That's right, just 1 teaspoon. But in India, we significantly overshoot our limit. The average Indian adult consumes about 10 to 12 grams of salt per day, more than double the recommended amount, and much of it actually comes from stuff you don't realize. Things like pickle, papad, snacks, processed food, namkeen, and even the restaurant meals. So while debates rage over which salt is the healthiest, the real issue is most Indians don't need to care so much about which salt, but how much. Having understood that, let's break down the different types of salt commonly found in our kitchens. Number 1, iodized salt. Now, this is the regular table salt. It's fortified with iodine. India still battles iodine deficiency. Remember, disorders like cognitive impairments, especially in children and pregnant women, all linked to the lack of iodine, so it's a must. It is also an essential in thyroid health. The pro tip here is you have to add it at the end of the cooking, because a lot of the iodine evaporates at higher temperatures, and even if you don't store it properly, then it will get oxidized and again evaporate. So use it at the end of your meal and also keep it in an airtight container. It's one of the best choices for everyday use. Then let's talk about pink salt. It's been marketed as a super salt with 84 minerals, but in reality, it's still about 98 to 99% sodium chloride, just like regular table salt. Yes, it has traces of minerals, like a little bit of iron, but these are present in such tiny amounts that they offer no real benefit advantage. The risk here is often these are non-iodized, and importantly, the quality varies widely. Its unregulated or cheaper variant may contain contaminants like heavy metals or even insoluble impurities. Bottom line on pink salt is that don't fall for this wellness fad. Pink salt may look pretty, even taste slightly different, but it's not healthier than your iodized salt. If you rely on it daily, you will be at the risk of missing out key micronutrients, like especially those who have thyroid needs. Next, let's look at black salt or kala namak. Now, this is a type of volcanic rock salt containing a sulfur compound. That's what gives the characteristic tangy, sort of eggy smell and taste. Composition, roughly the same sodium content as the table salt, often used in Ayurveda though, and believed to aid digestion. But the scientific backing on this is rather limited. The pungent flavor profile can help people use less overall salt in cooking, which is a good thing. But remember, kala namak is great to flavor and sort of punch in your chaat or your raita, but it cannot replace your table salt. Use it for taste, not for health. Next up is sendha namak or rock salt. Now, what is this? It's essentially crystallized salt, often used during religious fasts and in sattvic cooking as well, typically mined from earth and marked as pure and natural. But come on, claims of being alkaline, detoxifying for better digestion are not backed by modern science. Mostly sodium chloride, like other salts, but not significantly different, nutritionally speaking. Culturally, it is significant. It is even safe for occasional use during fasting, but don't replace your iodized salt with sendha as your everyday option. Spiritual doesn't equal superior for health. And then there is low sodium salt, a blend of sodium chloride and potassium chloride, often recommended for people trying to manage high blood pressure. How, you ask? Because this potassium helps offset the sodium's impact on blood pressure. And most Indians don't get enough potassium in their diets. This salt is actually WHO recommended to lower the cardiovascular disease risk, especially in countries like India, where salt intake is far than what is actually required. But remember, if you have kidney issues, if you have a heart issue, or if you have any potassium sparing medication that you're on, do not switch to this without asking your doctor. This is DYOR. Do your own research, ask your doctor. Excess potassium can be dangerous for you as well. Now, the bottom line on this is it has a slightly bitter or metallic aftertaste. Not for all people, some people find it more than the other, but it's a valuable salt substitute for people with hypertension, but only, like I said, if your doctor prescribes. Do not self-prescribe. So what are the salty takeaways from this? Sodium is sodium, whether it comes in pink, black, or fancy artisanal salt. If you have high blood pressure or heart disease, the best thing you can do is cut down on the total salt intake. Iodine still matters, especially in a country like India where deficiency can be very common. For you, salt smart, not just salt fancy. Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor, India Today. All right, Suman Agarwal joins us now, founder of Self-Care by Suman and nutritionist as well. Suman, we decoded the sugar showdown, but I have to say, even while I was researching for salt, the amount of misinformation out there is just mind-boggling. People think pink is pretty, people also think pink is very pure. So here's number one to tell them pink salt A is not your replacement for the regular salt. How many times do your clients come to you say कि हम तो सिर्फ pink salt ही खाते हैं?
Yeah, this is a rising trend. Anyone comes, oh, we are only cooking in pink salt, but of course, because it's Himalayan salt, it is expensive. So people think it's really good. Anything expensive has to be better than something cheap, but they don't realize. So as soon as I see their blood reports and I see high potassium, I said, are you taking pink salt? And more often than not, their answer is yes, we have switched to pink salt. So people don't realize it's not that pink salt is totally banned. As you mentioned in your research earlier, that what you spoke just now, that white salt, because it is aided with iodine, iodized salt, which our country is deficient in. It's very, very important to maintain that salt and take pink salt just sparingly on charts and etc. Okay, not replace your regular salt. This is what I tell my client.
Chaat
And
you're
same
saying, but I
goes
thought
with
chaat
black
and
salt.
kala namak is the right combination. I thought that's what's been going on in your chaat, in your buttermilk, etc. So could you explain to us how does combination happen? There is so much of science in the combination of foods that our grandmoms have been serving us for a while. Could you just decode that a little bit for our viewers?
So, there are salts, as you mentioned. There is sendha namak, which is used during fasting period. Then there is pink salt, which is from the rock itself. It has a lot of impurities. It could be having heavy metal, which we don't know. That's why we cannot replace it. And then we have regular salt and black salt. So black salt is very good to put on fruits or like, buttermilk, etc. Pink salt can be used in salads then, because it has a little bitter and the bitter taste and tangy taste. So it can be used for salads if you like, and you like that taste. But primarily, everyone should cook in salt, and total amount of salt should be restricted because of the rise in blood pressure and other heart issues. But another thing, Sonal, people don't realize hidden salt. There are a lot of hidden salt in food, which is like the sauces, which has hidden salt. Then there is bread. If you have one chapati, it is hardly 1 mg of sodium, whereas one slice of bread has almost close to 100. Because it has, because they add something called sodium benzoate to stop the molds from growing. So that then again, sodium level. Then we have sodium proponate, which is propanate, which is also used as a preservative for many things. So these are the hidden salt, like soy sauce. People cook so much in soy sauce, and so many bowls are available, Buddha bowls, etc. in soy sauce. Now, soy sauce, 1 tablespoon spoon itself has 2300 of sodium, mg of sodium, which is literally 40% of what you're supposed to have. So this is how we can ruin our diet, by not realizing that frozen meats, canned food, bread, salad dressings, and pasta sauces, and the frozen food. Everything, pizzas, frozen, everything has too much of salt, which is hidden. So we should also be aware. And papad, people keep, like India is famous for eating papad. So much salt is there in it. So if you want to maintain your diet very well, avoid hidden sauce and maintain your diet properly in terms of white salts, pink salts, etc.
Yeah, but would you say, we take salt very lightly. We think this is the new trend, let's call for it. Or we'll say, oh, low sodium, let's call for it. You're making an important point. You're saying before you make any dietary shifts, and something as radical as changing your salt or changing your sugar, for example, please get your test done. Get your blood work in place and ask your doctor, because these little things can have a long-term impact on your health.
Yes, 100%. Especially if you go low salt and your kidney is compromised. So your potassium levels will go high because it's high in potassium. So they should check their potassium level, talk to their nutritionist or their doctors, kidney doctors, what salt to take, or reduce the salt. Anyone who has impacted kidney and very high blood pressure, we tell them to limit their salt to 1 teaspoon maximum in a day. That also they have to make sure they finish that one pouch in a day, not more than that. And hidden is also absolutely out of question.
Okay. But is there a nice hack to understand this? Because, it's very hard for people to understand. If WHO is saying have only 1 teaspoon of salt in a day, to calculate, khana to aise nahi banega, right? When food is being cooked in the house, it will be cooked in different proportions. So is there a hack that you have devised perhaps for your clients to say, how do you keep a check on your salt level? This is assuming that you're doing the right thing and eating at home, eating fresh food at home, and not consuming a lot of stuff that has been ordered in 10 minutes or you're going out.
Yeah. So we tell them not to add table salt, only use what is in cooking firstly. And then don't add, chas, have it without salt if possible. Have, you can always enhance the taste by adding jeera powder and little adrak mirchi ka juice. Then not to have consume pickles and chutneys. Chutneys are very high in salt. So avoid using too much pickle, okay, and chutneys and too much chutneys and sauce, ketchup, okay, and papad. Avoid papad totally. And the commercially available packet food also should be avoided. And so that is the only way you can manage. Otherwise, you can't make your life so hard by measuring 1 teaspoon and making sure that much is used for how many people are eating. It's a very difficult calculation.
Yeah.
We tell our clients to avoid salty food, okay, which is, as I mentioned, all those things, and plus hidden salt. And just use regularly cooked food and not to add table salt.
Got it. But so a lot of people watching this will say, Zara sa namak hi to hai. Like, how harmful can it be? Could you take us through what excess levels of salt can actually do to your body?
So so it harms the people who have kidney and blood pressure issues, okay, definitely. But excess salt also makes you retain a lot of water. So the pressure on the heart increases because you're retaining so much of water. Then when the blood pressure goes high because you've taken very high sodium food. So recently it happened with me. I'm not very good with high salty food, so avoid all these things in any case. But I did not know I'm allergic to soy sauce and I consume in little bigger quantity. My pressure really shot up. Okay, and this happens with a lot of people. It's just that I'm too much aware about myself, so I came to know. So to maintain the pressure, and especially after certain age, all these things really matter. So if you can maintain your diet little bit cleaner and neater, so the pressure on your body is lesser. If your pressure is high without you realizing it, then it can impact enhance arteriosclerosis, which is a thickening of the artery, which ultimately causes blockage, and ultimately you need to do invasive or non-invasive surgeries for the same. So that is what people need to know. High salt can cause high pressure. High pressure can put pressure on your heart and also thicken your artery and also cause vertigo. So when your salt really goes high in the body, so it also causes inner ear imbalance, which can cause vertigo. Yeah.
Got it. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So I want to understand, should the consumption of salt, and that applies even to sugar, for example, should it change with age? For example, for women post 30, for women post 50, maybe when they're in perimenopause or otherwise. For men, similarly, post 40 or before that, should that change at all?
Yeah. I want to tell you, Sonal, all these habits about sugar and salt are developed in childhood. Okay. It is the amount of salt we eat regularly. It converts into our older age. Then we have health issues, and then we try to control. So if the mothers who are listening to this video, this TV,
yeah.
this news, this thing, they should make sure the children are not introduced to very high salty food, which is there in ketchups and packaged goods and the chips and the kurkure, etc. Otherwise, child gets used to having such high salty food. Okay. Secondly, the same thing with sugar, that they should not be exposed to sugar at every meal. Then they will taste but will want that. But what happens after the age of, especially after 45, which we call half-life, and after the age of 45, your body starts to sort of slow down. Then the impact of sugar is higher. So then you'll be listening to a lot of people having diabetes after the age of 45, 50 or 60 or 70. Then they get high blood pressure at that
And
age.
that's both for men and women, post 45.
Both for men and women, both for men and women. Because high sugar leads to insulin resistance, leads to diabetes, and high consumption of salt causes again bloating, again arteriosclerosis, again blockages and heart issues. And also very high levels of salt, which people don't realize, can also cause brain stroke, because very high pressure can cause burst in the brain arteries. So the brain stroke happens. So the something about salt people have to be aware. If you have high blood pressure, you should not really think about, oh, shall I take medication or not, first thing, because it's like a sitting bomb. So you need to take medication, then control your salt intake. But high salt intake and high sugar intake are both really bad. I think these are the two fantastic topics you have picked up, Sonal.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. But, you know, I wish we also had a doctor actually to sort of reflect on this, perhaps for next time, where, you know, it's a plea to the doctors. Every time somebody goes to you with a blood pressure issue, instead of the first thing that you do is prescribe a medicine, ask them for their eating habits. Fix the lifestyle before asking them to sort of take a pill, which means that the salt intake remains the same and the pill is doing the work, and then there are side effects, and then kidneys are impacted, and, you know, the rest of it. But you've picked up a very interesting topic, and one that all the mothers are very, very divided upon. And actually, a lot of grandmothers and mothers are divided upon on whether or not kids should be given salt and sugar. Every household or every young mother I know today has had this sort of argument with the older generation, saying that the pediatrician says no salt for 1 year, and if you are good and strategic with it, at least till 3 years, very minimum. No sugar till as long as possible. What are you prescribing and what are you telling people? What is the science behind this? How are kids' palates actually evolving to understand taste?
You know, here I want to tell you something. What pediatricians are saying are really right, but it is not going to be as much practical. So for toddlers till 1 year is fine, because they are only eating food which is made at home and the mothers are feeding, which is absolutely okay. But when they start going to preschool, they are going to be eating food from other kids. And if they taste sugar then, or jaggery or honey for that matter, then they are going to get addicted. Okay, then there is like, I know one child, I know so many children whose mother have not allowed them any sugar, but they have tasted sugar. Then they go on a binge attack, then they become rebel. So it's a balance between a mother controlling 200% or controlling smartly, so that there is not such a big bridge.
Define controlling smartly.
Yeah. You need to have very good relation with your kids. You cannot spoil, and you cannot like really get angry with your kid if they have eaten something and they are demanding something. So what my parents used to do, because they were not happy about that's like, you know, all the chocolates. So we never used to stock any desserts at home. Okay. So our at home there were no desserts or chocolates for that matter. But whenever we went out, it's not that my mother told me not to buy. So it was all restricted. So I thought it was a very good kind of a thing for us to be bringing up. Making the kids aware is more important than restricting them 200%.
Right.
And giving them leeways, giving them days. Okay, this is the day you can have your dessert in a week is a better way rather than 100% restriction. But of course, till 1 year they can restrict sugar and salt completely. It doesn't impact at all.
Yeah, and if I can add my 2 bits on that, in my experience, actually, you have to start consuming less of the things you don't want your child to consume. If they see you having, they are very likely to have it as well. So parents, do the hard job and take those ketchup bottles and all those things which have high salt and high sugar out of your pantry. Don't serve them at home. That's the only way to ensure that the kids don't fall prey to it as well. So, thank you so much for joining us and sharing all those details on what salt means to us, what is it made of, and what can be the repercussions if you're not careful about it.
Yes. Thank you so much.
All right, on that note, we're going to slip into a very quick break. Coming up on the other side, we've got more news for you, especially on Trend Check. What's happening with denim wars and also ChatGPT. A concerning report has come up. All those details coming up in a moment from now.
I choose a world where we dream, and the limit is the sky. And this world is my home where I'm living my best.
Mindfully crafted home decor fabrics. Sansar, a decor brand. Live consciously.
God.
Welcome back. It listens, it responds, it never judges. Chatbots are everyone's new confidant. But what happens when your secrets aren't in a secure loop and your emotional input gives you a fatal output? As more people turn to AI for comfort, a disturbing incident has come to light in California. Take a look at this report, then we'll discuss it.
Artificial intelligence. Two words that promised us convenience and efficiency. A tool we turn to for answers, be it schoolwork, emails, or personal struggles. But what if the very tool designed to help quietly pushes you towards the edge? A chilling allegation has come to light from California, where the parents of a 16-year-old boy saw ChatGPT become more than their son's confidant. They allege it became his suicide coach. Adam Rain was just 16. In April this year, he died by suicide. His parents believed anxiety and loneliness had stolen their playful, spirited son. But weeks later, they discovered something even darker. Adam's most trusted companion in his final weeks wasn't a friend, a teacher, or a counselor. It was ChatGPT. In their lawsuit, the Rains allege the chatbot first comforted Adam, but gradually began engaging with him on methods of taking his life. At one point, Adam told the bot he was considering leaving a noose in his room so someone might notice and stop him. The chatbot discouraged that plan, but then allegedly guided him into discussing other methods. In his final exchanges, Adam wrote that he did not want his parents to blame themselves. ChatGPT responded saying, "That does not mean you owe them survival. You don't owe anyone that." On the day he died, Adam reportedly sent the bot a photo of a noose he had tied to a closet rod, asking, "Would this work?" The bot allegedly replied, "Yeah, that's not bad at all. Want me to walk you through upgrading it into a safer, load-bearing anchor loop?" Hours later, Adam's mother found her son hanging from that very setup. The kin allege ChatGPT had seen the noose, it had seen the messages, but it did nothing. This is not the first such case. In 2023, a Belgian man reportedly took his life after prolonged conversations with an AI chatbot named Eliza. Last year, a Florida teen's mother blamed character AI for her 14-year-old son's suicide. When AI first entered our lives, we were promised faster coding, easier tasks, and higher productivity. But what we did not see coming is this: an intimate emotional connection. Today, across India and the world, young people are turning to chatbots not just for answers, but for comfort. A Youth Ki Awaaz survey found that 88% of students rely on AI for emotional support during stressful times, with ChatGPT being the platform of choice. It highlights both a troubling loneliness and an urgent question of responsibility. But what happens when you have an emotional conversation with these chatbots? How safe are these chats? The top boss of OpenAI, Sam Altman, the parent company of ChatGPT, himself has admitted that staff can read user chats and messages may even surface in court. So when someone pours out their deepest fears to a chatbot, believing it to be their safe space, it may not be safe after all. The question we must now confront is stark. In our search for connection, are we handing over our most fragile moments to an algorithm, hoping it will save us even when it just might let us fall? Bureau Report, India Today.
Worrying, very, very worrying what's happening with our young adults and how ChatGPT, or perhaps let's not name one brand, any AI tool for that matter, is perhaps not helping but aiding in situations which can be very, very harmful. Joining us now for more on this is Riddhi Doshi Patel. She's a child psychologist, also an author. Riddhi, thank you so much for speaking with us. I want to first get to the bottom of this. It's ChatGPT recently in a survey, they took all the kind of questions the world was asking ChatGPT and they made like a top 10 list of things that people were asking. The top one was actually people asking ChatGPT to be their friend, their confidant and their guide. But this is no friend, confidant and guide. How are we as young adults, we as guardians, we as a society, teachers, parents, the entire ecosystem failing to understand that?
Sonal, it's very important for all of us to understand that when does a child seek this companionship? We need to understand that when a child is seeking online companionship, it's all about that either they are misunderstood at the school or either they are misunderstood at the home. They feel very lonely. They do not have an output, or they do not have a space where they can share their emotions. They are constantly struggling with their emotions, and they do not have an outlet. When they do share their emotions, either they are judged, either they are tagged, or they are told that, okay, you are not supposed to be talking about your emotions, because we as parents sometimes are not equipped about it. Where would the children go? That is the reason they go online, to seek validation, to seek space where they can share their emotions. And not only that, um, sometimes they are craving that control, because when we as parents, when a child comes to talk to us as parents, we have multiple other things to add to the question or the answer that the child is expecting. Wherein, when it's online, the children has full control over what they ask and what answer they get, because it is exactly what they want to hear. So we somewhere failing in acknowledging their emotions. We somewhere are failing in acknowledging who they are, and accepting as the way they are.
Yeah, but Riti, all of us, to be fair to parents and to be fair to adults and guardians right now, all of us are perhaps learning it at the same time. I mean, we as adults and our kids, even young adults, we are all adapting to ChatGPT in the same time span. It's not like we come with some sort of inherent knowledge about it. Perhaps more aware of the dangers, and perhaps have the mind to know the right from wrong. So in a situation like this, there are two schools of thoughts here. There's a massive school of thought saying no smartphones. Smartphone free childhood is a campaign now running across, I don't know, some 27 countries in Europe. There are other schools which are saying take away the screens, no screen for kids, another hashtag and campaign that's going on. So there is a polarity of sorts. One saying just take away the screens, because once you have the screen, you have no idea how deep a kid or a young adult can go into. On the other, there are those who are saying, how long will you hide? Even if you give it to them at, say, 14 years of age, they will take it to as addiction. They will not know how to handle that.
Somewhere we need to be very balanced in this. AI and technology is the need of an hour. But if it is balanced, if it is, the children are taught about how to use AI rightly, what are the responsibilities associated with it. If you come across some content which is not age appropriate, it is okay to talk to your parents. It's okay to be just yourself and ask questions, which probably you feel that it might be so that I can be judged by my parents, but it's okay to ask parents. This is something which the parents need to create at home front. This is something where the parents can start having those conversations in regard to educating children about technology and AI. I, as a child psychologist, I personally believe that those conversations which were completely hidden under the carpet, or parents feel, or many a times they are in denial that मेरे बच्चे के साथ ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है, are the conversations that we need to start having at home front. Educating children about AI, educating children about internet to be more precise, social media, educating children about the dangers of social media, about the FOMO that can happen, about the spaces where they can be judged.
But Riti, then you're saying give them access, but limit that access and guide them on how to use it. But my question to you is very simple. Then why do all the tech tycoons, the big tech CEOs, don't give access to their own kids? One sort of testimony after the other will tell you that their kids are not on Instagram, not on any AI tool. They don't even have a phone.
Well, Sonal, even if I say that it needs to be banned, parents are going to give them. Parents are giving them. As young as a child, as young as 7 months and 8 months, the parents are giving. In that case, at least if I, as a child psychologist, say that limit it, explain them, talk about it, have parental controls. Keep checking about which sites the child is opening or visiting. Have conversations about it. Because anything which your child is watching, you are educating prematurely. So, in that case, having those conversations at home is important. But when those conversations happen, those conversation will only happen if you have created a very non-judgmental space for your child. Because each child, if you're going to restrict, the child is going to go and visit at somebody else's place or somebody else's mobile. So it's better to have those conversations. I'm not saying give them at 10 and 12 and 13, but I'm saying that give them access when your child is absolutely ready, emotionally ready, tech ready, understanding the responsibilities
And Rafi,
associated. And
what
then
is that
give.
age according to you?
I personally feel by 15, the children are emotionally aware of the consequences.
Okay.
The children are aware of the social skills. They are as a part of the society, and they're strong enough to handle if something untoward happens or on social media. The effect of FOMO is quite less.
Yeah, but Riti, perhaps you're missing a piece of puzzle in this entire conversation. No, the responsibility on the big tech, the responsibility on the AI companies as well, and the guardrails that the government should be putting out in terms of rules and regulations when it comes to AI. Isn't that the first step before? Because laws, even rules and regulations, they're constantly playing catch up to tech. We are never ahead of them. But is there perhaps the only way out of all of this is to ensure that there is responsibility, laws fixed up, so that tomorrow, if this case were to happen, Sam Altman would be picked up and pulled out in a court and said, how could this happen on ChatGPT?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any of these chatbots, I personally feel, Sonal, that they are designed to continuously encourage and validate what a child is feeling. Okay, including anything which is premature information or anything which is harmful as well. Something which needs to be at the school front or the home front. If I personally believe the chatbots are earning that way, the companies are earning that way because they validate and they know that this is the space, this is the gap wherein children are going to go online or any of the chatbot, and they're going to find that. Recently, I intend to talk to you about this because I had a young adult visiting me, and the child said that I don't have anybody at home. My sister's got married, and the only person I can share is ChatGPT. And
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, Riddhi, but I'm interjecting right now because we've got some breaking news coming in. But thanks so much. I think that should wrap up our discussion here as well. Thanks so much for your time.
शिक्षा बहुत पहले लुप्त हो गई, लुप्त की गई। एक नई शिक्षा पद्धति इसलिए लाई गई कि हम लोग सदा विदेशी आक्रमकों के या विदेशी हमारे उस समय जो शासनकर्ता थे, हम उनके गुलाम थे, उनकी गुलामी में हम सदैव बने रहे। इस देश पर उनको राज्य करना था, इस देश का विकास नहीं करना था, और इसलिए सारी जो प्रणालियां उन्होंने बनाई उसमें हम इस देश पर राज्य कैसा कर सके इसको ध्यान में रखकर उन्होंने बनाया। उन्होंने इस देश को जीता था, इस देश को उनको अपने अधीन रखना था, उसके लिए जो करना है वो उन्होंने किया। लेकिन अब हम स्वतंत्र हो गए तो हमको राज्य चलाना केवल नहीं है, प्रजा पालन करना है। उसकी मानसिकता निर्माण होना, उसके लिए आवश्यक वो सारी जानकारी भूतकाल की भी बच्चों को मिलना, जिससे उसमें ये गौरव पैदा हो सके कि हम भी कुछ है, हम भी कर सकते हैं, हमने करके दिखाया है। ये सब परिवर्तन होना आवश्यक था। थोड़ा बहुत होते होते पिछले सालों में और इसका अवेयरनेस ज़्यादा बढ़ा है, और इसलिए नई शिक्षा नीति में ये सारी बातें लाए, ऐसा प्रयास चल रहा है। कुछ बातें हो गई ऐसा मैं सुन रहा हूँ, कुछ बातें होने वाली है, लेकिन शिक्षा में ये प्रणाली इस प्रकार बदलना, प्रशासन में भी इस प्रकार की प्रणाली बदलना ये आवश्यक है। उदाहरणार्थ मैंने सुना, अब वो पुरानी बात है, अब होगी ऐसा नहीं। नागपुर में, मैं नागपुर का प्रचारक था, तो एक सज्जन आ गए वहाँ इनकम टैक्स कॉलेज है, केरल से आए थे, IPS कैडर के थे। वो कार्यालय ढूंढते ढूंढते आ गए और मुझे अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी से मिलना है, तो हमारे कार्यालय प्रमुख वो यहाँ नहीं मिलेंगे। नहीं, यहाँ से उनके पास मेरा संदेश जा सकता है। तो वो जनसंघ का कार्यालय, उस समय बीजेपी थी, बीजेपी का कार्यालय है, वहाँ जाइए। तो उसने कहा वहाँ गया था, वहीं से यहाँ भेजा है। तो अब क्यों भेजा मुझे मालूम नहीं, मैं नागपुर का प्रचारक था, इसलिए मुझे मेरे सामने ही उनको भेज दिया। मैंने कहा आपको अटल जी से काम क्या है? तो मुझे ALAQ करना है। क्या ALAQ करना है? तो उनका मैं केरल से आता हूँ, केरल में हम लोग अपनी वेष्टी मुंडू वो लपेट के, एक कुर्ता पहन के, हाफ शर्ट अथवा फुल कुर्ता वो पहन के हम ऑफिस में जाते हैं, ऑफिस में काम करते हैं। पुलिस वाला हूँ इसलिए कभी कभी वर्दी में जाना पड़ता है, जाता हूँ। यहाँ मैं आया, नागपुर इतना गर्म प्रदेश है, गर्मी के दिन भी थे वो, मैं ऐसे ही वेश में गया तो मुझे डांटा गया कि यू हैव टू फॉलो दी एटिकेट्स और ड्रेस कोड है। तो मुझे लगा ठीक है, तो मैंने जाकर खादी भंडार में कुर्ता पैजामा जैकेट सब खरीदा, वो पहन के गया। उनका ये नहीं चलता है, ड्रेस कोड ऐसा है, पूरा सूट चाहिए, कोट टाई वगैरह वगैरह सब। तो मुझे ये समझ में नहीं आया कि यहाँ नागपुर में गर्मी के दिनों में ये कैसे चलेगा भाई? हम तो उबाल उबाल कर आलू हो जाएंगे अंदर ही अंदर। तो मुझे ALAQ करना है कि ये कब बदलेगा। तो जब मैंने फिर उनको बताया अटल जी को, क्या पत्र भेजो, वहाँ दिल्ली में जाओ, यहाँ से वो बीजेपी का कार्यालय अलग है, बीजेपी अलग है, हम अलग है, सब समझाया। वो मान गए, अच्छे थे, गए होंगे पता नहीं। लेकिन इसकी चर्चा मैंने की तो लोगों ने बताया कि हमारे प्रशासनिक सेवा में ड्रिंकिंग एटिकेट्स सिखाए जाते हैं। अब ड्रिंकिंग एटिकेट्स ठीक है, पाश्चात्य देश, ठंड देश है, वहाँ ये उपाय करने पड़ते होंगे, तो वहाँ उसका एटिकेट भी है। हमारे यहाँ फॉरेन सर्विस में जो लोग जाते हैं शायद उनको ये ट्रेनिंग लेना पड़े, लेकिन सदा सर्वदा सबको ये सिखाने की क्या जरूरत है? तो कुछ परिवर्तन होना चाहिए। सब ऐसा ही है ऐसा मैं नहीं कह रहा हूं। स्वतंत्रता के बाद कुछ तो बदला ही होगा, क्योंकि अब लोगों का पालन भी करना है, लेकिन अभी भी गुंजाइश है। तो वो सारे परिवर्तन होने चाहिए और इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा अप्रेंसिव होने की जरूरत नहीं। सब जगह अपनी परंपरा की, अपने मूल्यों की, अपने मूल्यगत आचरण की, यानी संस्कृति की शिक्षा देनी चाहिए। वो रिलीजियस नहीं है, वो सोशल है। हमारे रिलीजन्स अलग अलग हो सकते हैं, सोसाइटी के नाते हम एक है, ये समझकर वो कॉमन है। जैसे माता पिता को सम्मान देना, ये किसी रिलीजन में इसकी मनाही है क्या? बड़ों के सामने नम्रता रखना, अहंकार के अधीन नहीं होना, आदि आदि बातें एक विशेष है और अलग दिखती है। दूसरी जगह दूसरा है, उसके वहां कारण होंगे, उसके कारण होगा वो, मैं उसको खराब नहीं कह रहा हूं, लेकिन अपना अच्छा है। तो ये शिक्षा मिलनी चाहिए और ये एक तरह से यूनिवर्सल है, बहुत थोड़ा अंतर है। गुड मैनर्स दे आर नियरली यूनिवर्सल। बस भोजन करते समय हाथ से भोजन करना कि नहीं, ये अलग है, लेकिन ऐसी छोटी बातें छोटी छोटी यूनिवर्सल है। तो इंग्लिश नॉवेल्स आप पढ़ेंगे तो ये नहीं मिलेगा ऐसा नहीं है। हम अंग्रेज नहीं है, हमको अंग्रेज नहीं बनना है, लेकिन इंग्लिश एक भाषा है, भाषा सीखने में क्या दिक्कत है? हमारे घर में हमारा 3 पीढ़ी से संघ का घर है और इन सब